The rain had been falling all night. Thin ribbons of water traced paths down the cracked windows of the old truck as I drove slowly through the alleyway behind a deserted warehouse district. It was a part of town most people avoid, a forgotten place littered with rusted fences, crumbling bricks, and the ghosts of long-abandoned businesses, but I wasn't here for the scenery. Was here for her. I'd received a call from a small mechanic shop owner earlier that week. He'd seen a dog skinny dirty and alone lurking behind the dumpsters. She didn't let anyone near her. People had tried to offer food, but she growled, snarled, even lunged when approached. The mechanic told me, "She's wild, maybe dangerous. You don't want to go near her." But I did. I always did. It wasn't the first time I'd responded to a call like this. I volunteered with a small rescue group that focused on stray and abandoned dogs, the ones no one wanted, the ones too broken, too fearful, too difficult to adopt. These were the souls that spoke to me the loudest, not with words, but with the silent language of pain, fear, and longing. And this girl, whatever her story was, I had a feeling she hadn't known kindness in a very long time. I parked a little ways down, not wanting to spook her with the engine noise. I gathered the essentials: a soft slip leash, few treats, an old blanket, and a container of warm chicken I had packed just in case. Dogs in survival mode rarely responded to dry kibble. The alley smelled of rust, oil, and wet concrete. Puddles formed where the ground sagged. As I approached the row of dumpsters, I kept my body relaxed, my steps slow, deliberate. No sudden movements. No direct eye contact. I saw her before she saw me. Curled beneath a rusted green dumpster, partially hidden behind an old crate, was a dog with matted fur the color of old honey. Her ribs stuck out like harsh lines carved beneath her skin. Her legs were folded awkwardly, as if she wasn't sure she could or should stand up. Then she looked at me, her eyes locked with mine, hard, suspicious, wild. Not wild like a wolf. Wild like something that had once trusted, once loved, and had it all shattered into pieces. Her lips curled instinctively. A deep growl rumbled low in her throat. I stopped where I was and knelt down. "It's okay, girl," I whispered, keeping my tone soft, steady. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't believe me. Of course she didn't. I slowly reached into my pocket and pulled out a piece of chicken, tossing it gently about a foot away from her. She didn't move, just stared. Eyes like glass. Unblinking, untrusting. She looked like she'd been through hell. Her ears were tattered. Her front left paw looked slightly swollen, and her entire body seemed poised to either run or fight, but she didn't bolt. That meant something. Sat there in silence for nearly 45 minutes, occasionally speaking softly, occasionally tossing a piece of food closer to her, then slightly retreating. It was the first step. A dance of distance and trust. 1 inch at a time. She never moved, but she watched. I came back the next day, and the next. Each time, I followed the same quiet ritual. Sit, wait, offer food, speak softly. Never force. Never reach. On the 4th day, she took a single step forward. She didn't eat in front of me, but she sniffed the chicken. Progress. That night, I cried in my car on the drive home. Not because I was sad, but because I felt the weight of how hard it must have been for her to take that one step. The world had been cruel to her. You could see it in her bones, in her hesitancy, in the way she flinched when a car backfired in the distance. Day 6. When I arrived, she was already out from under the dumpster, standing beside it as if she'd been waiting for me. Her tail didn't wag, but it didn't tuck between her legs either. I knelt again. She came a little closer. My heart beat faster. I held my hand out with a piece of chicken resting on my open palm. She stared, then crept forward slowly. And then she lunged. It was fast, reflexive. Her teeth clamped down not on my hand, but on the sleeve of my jacket. Not hard enough to pierce, but hard enough to warn. I didn't flinch. I didn't yell. I didn't pull away. Instead, I whispered, "It's okay. You're okay." She growled again, but this time, it was weaker, and I saw something in her eyes. Not rage, terror. She didn't want to bite me. She didn't want to be aggressive, but it was all she knew. Her whole life had taught her one rule: hurt first or you'll be the one hurt. I slowly backed away, giving her space. No scolding. No punishment. I came back again the next day. On day 8, something changed. I sat down on a thick blanket I'd brought. The weather had turned chilly. The sky threatened rain. Again. And she was there, already watching me from the corner. I called her softly. Unsure why, but the name came to me naturally. Mira. She blinked. I tossed a small strip of chicken, but this time didn't wait for her to come to me. I let her choose, and after a long 5 minutes, she did slow, stiff steps. Her body low to the ground, cautious, fragile. She ate the food right in front of me. Then she backed away. But she stayed. Within sight. I slept terribly that night. Every sound outside made me wonder if she was okay. If someone might hurt her. If she'd run off. If I'd pushed too hard. But on day 9, when I pulled into the alley, she was there. Sitting. Waiting. Her eyes still held fear. But something else had joined it. Hope. I sat down like always. Offered food like always. And then I opened my arms. No force. Just an invitation. She stared. And then, step by step, she came forward. Her body shook. Her head was low. But she walked right into my arms and pressed herself into my chest. I froze. Not out of fear, but awe. And then, I hugged her. Gently. Carefully. Like I was holding something made of glass. She stiffened at first. Her muscles locked up like stone. But I didn't let go. And then she whimpered once. Then again. A small sound. Like a sob. She buried her face against me, and her whole body trembled. Not in anger. Not in defense, but in release. She cried. And so? Did I? That hug broke something loose in both of us. She had been alone for so long. Fighting, surviving, defending herself from every hand that reached for her. And now, for the first time in what must have felt like forever, she let someone in. And I felt it too. That connection. That unspoken bond between two living beings who had both known what it meant to hurt, to be afraid, to feel unwanted. I held her there in the cold and wet alley until the light began to fade. That was the beginning of everything. The moment when a frightened, broken dog who once tried to bite allowed herself to be loved. The day I hugged her, the moment she melted into my arms and cried, it was like something shattered and healed at the same time. I didn't know if she had ever been hugged before. I didn't know what kind of past had taught her to lash out instead of lean in. But now, Mira had taken the first step toward trust, and that changed everything. The first night together, that night. After I finally coaxed her into my car with gentle praise and a trail of food, she lay curled on the back seat. Eyes wide open the entire drive. She didn't bark. Didn't growl. She just stared, alert, unsure, waiting for something bad to happen. I drove slowly, talking softly the whole way. You're safe now. It's okay, Mira. No more hiding. No more cold nights. She didn't understand the words, but I think she understood the tone. When we arrived at my house, I carried her in wrapped in the same blanket I'd been sitting on. She didn't struggle, didn't snap, just trembled like a leaf. I had prepared everything. A quiet room with soft lights, a cozy bed, water, and some boiled chicken. No loud sounds, no sudden movements. Just peace. She crept into the corner at first, watching. But then she sniffed the food, tested it, and ate. Every bite was cautious, like she was still unsure if it was really hers. That night, I slept on the floor next to her. She didn't sleep. Not really. But she didn't run either. We had a long way to go, but that night, for the first time, she didn't face the darkness alone. Small steps. Silent victories over the next few days. Myra's body began to relax just a little. Her growling stopped. Her eyes softened. When I entered the room, she didn't cower or bare her teeth anymore. Instead, she watched carefully, but not fearfully. The first time she wagged her tail, it was barely a twitch. Just a single uncertain flick. But it made me want to cheer. I took things slow. No leashes yet, no commands. Just love, consistency, and patience. We built a routine. I'd sit beside her and read out loud, not for her understanding, but to let her get used to my voice. I gently placed treats closer and closer to my side until, one day, she nudged her nose into my palm. It took over a week for her to let me touch her without flinching. The first time I scratched behind her ears, her entire body went still, then melted. She leaned into my hand like she hadn't felt kindness in years, and maybe she hadn't. The day she licked my hand, it was the smallest thing, and yet everything. I had just finished feeding her. I reached to pick up the bowl and paused. Mira looked up at me with those amber eyes and slowly leaned forward. She licked my hand. Once, gently. My heart swelled. It was the first gesture she had made entirely on her own. No food. No coaxing. Just her choosing to show affection in her own careful way. That day, we sat on the floor together for hours. She put her head on my knee, and I cried again. The first walk taking her outside was another mountain to climb. The leash terrified her at first. The click of the clasp made her jump. The feel of something around her neck, too close to past trauma, maybe. So we practiced indoors. I let her drag the leash around while we played. I let her approach the door on her own. Then one morning, I opened the front door. And she walked out beside me. Not pulling, not panicking. Just walking. We didn't go far, only to the edge of the driveway. But when she lifted her nose to the air, sniffed the breeze, and took a cautious step onto the grass, it was like watching someone rediscover the world. Learning to trust the world again every day brought tiny victories. She began to wag her tail fully. When she saw me, she learned her name. She started following me from room to room, no longer content to be alone. The house that once felt too quiet now echoed with soft paws, sleepy sighs, and the sound of a soul learning joy again. She'd nap near my feet while I worked. She'd wake me in the mornings by nudging her nose against my hand. Sometimes she'd curl beside me on the couch and rest her head on my chest. Her new favorite place. Her nightmares never fully stopped. Some nights, she'd twitch in her sleep, whimper, sometimes cry. I never asked what she was dreaming about. Just made sure she woke up safe. The day she played, dogs who've never known safety don't play. Their instincts are too wrapped in survival. Toys are meaningless when you're starving, when every noise might mean danger. But one morning, I found Mira in the backyard, pawing at an old squeaky plush I'd left near her bed. She tapped it once, jumped back. Then again, she picked it up, dropped it, barked, and then, tail wagging like crazy, she ran in circles, squeaking it with wild joy. I laughed so hard I almost cried again, watching her run free, unchained. Laughing in her doggy way, it was like watching a bird take its first flight. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was living. Healing is slow, but it comes, of course. Not every day was easy. Loud trucks still made her flinch. If someone knocked at the door, she'd hide behind the couch. When we went to the vet for her checkup, she shut down completely, trembling so hard I had to carry her inside. But she never bit again. She never growled at me again. Instead, after each moment of fear, she'd come to me. She'd press her body against mine. She knew where safety lived now. The night she comforted me one night. After a particularly hard day, I sat alone in the kitchen, feeling broken. Bills, family struggles, life's heaviness pressing down hard. I didn't cry out loud, but Mira felt it anyway. She walked in quietly, sat beside me, and rested her chin on my lap. Then she did something she hadn't done before. She climbed onto my lap and gently rested, her full weight against me, and I realized she wasn't just my rescue anymore. She was my rescuer too. Bond forged in silence. Our bond didn't come from commands or training. It came from silence, from sitting together on rainy nights, from showing up day after day when the other had nothing left to give. She came to me broken. I didn't know it then, but so was I. And now we were healing together. She wasn't just a dog anymore. She was my best friend. My heart with paws. The calm after the storm. It's strange how life can shift in just a few weeks. From a trembling dog growling in fear beneath a rusted dumpster to a soft-eyed companion curled at my feet, Mira had become part of my world so fully, so naturally. It was like she'd always been there. We had both changed. She no longer winced when I touched her. She didn't hide when a door slammed or a car honked outside. She even greeted new people with curiosity, still cautious, but no longer ruled by fear. Her eyes were brighter. Her coat had grown soft and golden. She ran now, tail high, as though her body remembered it was made for more than survival. And I, who had quietly carried my own loneliness for years, felt lighter too. Because Myra didn't just come into my life. She healed it. Our days together mornings began with a nudge on my arm, her cold nose poking beneath the blanket, reminding me that life waited outside the covers. She'd hop onto the bed if I didn't move fast enough, rolling over, belly up, tail thumping against the mattress. Then came breakfast, her favorite part of the day. Not because she was hungry, but because it was shared. We had a ritual. She sat politely, eyes sparkling, while I fixed her bowl. No begging, no whining. Just quiet anticipation. After breakfast came our walks. She walked close beside me, leash loose, her steps confident. Sometimes we'd pass joggers, cyclists, or other dogs. She'd look to me, and I'd nod, and she'd keep walking, unbothered, safe. In the afternoons, she'd nap in a sunbeam by the window, ears twitching, tail curled around her. I often paused work just to watch her breathe, and in the evenings, we'd sit together on the couch, her head resting in my lap, my hand gently stroking her fur. We didn't need words. We just needed each other. Facing the world together. Mira wasn't just surviving anymore. She was growing. The first time I took her to a dog park, I expected hesitation. Maybe a retreat behind my legs or low growls at the unfamiliar chaos. But she surprised me. At first, she sat still, watching the other dogs from a distance. Her ears perked. Her eyes tracked every movement, but there was no fear, just curiosity. And then one young golden retriever bounced toward her, tongue out, tail wagging. Mira flinched, but didn't back away. She stood her ground, nose to nose. One moment, two. Then, to my astonishment, she wagged her tail, not a stiff wag, not a nervous flick, a full, happy, "I'm glad you're here" wag. They chased each other for 20 minutes straight. I stood there, tears in my eyes, heart in my throat, watching her leap and play like a dog who had never been broken. And maybe she hadn't been broken at all. Maybe she'd just been waiting to feel safe enough to be herself again. The day we were tested, not all days were perfect. One afternoon, while on a walk, a man nearby dropped a metal toolbox onto the pavement. The crash was loud, sudden, jarring. Mira froze, her body went stiff, her ears flattened, her tail tucked between her legs. For a moment, she was back in the alley, back in that world of fear and noise and violence. But then she turned to me, and I was already kneeling beside her. "It's okay," I whispered, hand on her chest, grounding her. She leaned into me, and just like that, the fear passed. That was the difference now. She didn't have to face her panic alone. She had me. We became a team. There's something unspoken between a human and a dog who have truly bonded. A kind of emotional language built on moments, not commands. Mira could read me like a book. If I was sad, she knew before I said a word. If I was overwhelmed, she'd curl beside me, still and warm, as if to say, "I've got you." And I did. The same for her. When she had a nightmare, I'd gently stroke her back until her breathing slowed. When she was startled by the sound of thunder, I'd pull her close and hum quietly until the storm passed. We didn't rescue each other for a day. We rescued each other forever. A visit that changed everything. Months later, something special happened. I received a message from the same mechanic who had first called about her. He'd seen a post I shared about her progress, how she had transformed. He wanted to meet her again. I wasn't sure how she'd react. That place held so much pain. But something told me she was ready. We drove back to that alley on a clear, bright afternoon. I parked nearby, heart pounding, Mira sitting beside me in the passenger seat, her head resting on my arm. When we arrived, she jumped out, tail raised. Sniffing the familiar ground, the mechanic came outside slowly, his rough hands wringing a rag, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Is that her?" I nodded. He knelt down, and Mira walked right up to him. No growl, no hesitation. She let him scratch behind her ears. "She looks like a different dog." I smiled. "She is." But as we stood there in the same place where she once hid, I realized something deeper. She hadn't changed into someone new. She'd simply been allowed to become who she truly was. Love without conditions. Mira never became the perfect dog. She hated vacuum cleaners. She was still nervous in crowds. She'd sometimes bark at shadows on the wall or flinch at sharp noises. But I didn't want perfect. I wanted her. All of her. The scarred parts, the soft parts, the brave parts, the still healing parts, and she loved me the same way. On my worst days, when I felt like I had nothing left to give, she'd sit beside me, reminding me that I was still someone worth loving. The unspoken promise I once read that dogs don't live as long as us because they already know how to love unconditionally, while we take a lifetime to learn it. Maybe that's true, because Mira taught me more in 1 year than most people had in my entire life. She taught me to be present. To be gentle. To show up. To forgive. And above all, to believe that no soul is too far gone. Years later. It's been 3 years since that first rainy day. Mira is older now. Her muzzle has grown grayer, her eyes a little slower, but her spirit still wild, still full of fire and love. We go on shorter walks now. She prefers long naps and belly rubs to chasing balls. She sleeps curled beside me every night, her breathing a soft, steady rhythm that brings peace to my heart. Sometimes I look at her and wonder what life might have been like if I hadn't gone down that alley, if I hadn't taken a chance, if she hadn't taken a chance on me. But I did, and she did. And now we're inseparable. Final reflection. More than a rescue, this story isn't just about saving a dog. It's about what happens when two broken beings find each other. It's about the quiet power of patience, the strength in gentleness, the magic of trust earned day by day. Mira didn't just survive. She transformed. And in doing so, she transformed me. They say we rescue animals, but the truth is, sometimes they rescue us first.